So, this past week was Thanksgiving. I'm still kind of in a food coma. Anybody else in kind of like a food coma? I think I'm gonna fast all week. But quick show of hands, how many of you spent the holidays with family, like immediate or extended family? Yeah, a lot of you. Perhaps you've noticed this about family. You didn't get to pick your family. Have you noticed this? Like you didn't get to choose. You're just sort of born into your family. And man, that makes for some interesting dynamics, let me just tell you, right? There's all these differences. Even in my kids, my two oldest boys, their personalities couldn't be more different. I wonder if they came from the same two people sometimes. Like they're so different. There's all these differences. There's different personalities, different opinions and convictions and political persuasions, right? Families are complex. There's all these differences. The other thing is, I'm convinced every family has at least one weirdo. Have you noticed this? Yeah, every family, it's like, it's that aunt or uncle, no matter how hard you try to have a normal conversation, you just walk away going, something's a little off there, you know what I mean? And that's just your family. Then you get married and you have to deal with your in-laws, which makes everything more complex. So, I'm married to Josie, and Josie comes from what I call a hugging family. And let me tell you, you walk in the door to a family gathering, and the same person has to give you like 5 hugs within the first 5 minutes. It's like they each have a hug quota that they have to meet, and they're really anxious about it, so they get it all done right away, which is basically my worst nightmare. So we pull into these family gatherings, and I'm breaking out in hives. I'm doing breathing exercises, breath prayers. God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Help me. It's intense. It's intense. You don't get to choose your family. You're just kind of born into it. And I kind of imagine this is what the disciples must have felt like. They didn't really get to pick one another. Jesus went up on a mountainside and basically God told him who to invite, and then he chose each one of them. But they didn't get to choose each other. They were just kind of thrown into things as they said yes to Jesus. And I imagine there are probably some pretty interesting dynamics. Let me give you one example. One of the individuals that Jesus calls to be a disciple is this guy named Matthew, and he was a tax collector. And if you know anything about nobody liked tax collectors. The reason why is because they were most often employed by Rome, which was Israel's enemy. And so they're employed by Rome, and their job was to tax their own people. So you got a Jewish person representing Israel's enemy, taxing their own people, and then they often overtax those people to put a little extra money in their pocket. So nobody liked tax collectors. But Jesus invites a tax collector to be part of the 12. And then another guy that Jesus invites is this guy named Simon the Zealot. And most scholars believe that Simon belonged to a group known as the Zealots, and they were basically nationalists who wanted to get rid of Rome's presence, often using violence. So there's historical data that sometimes they would assassinate tax collectors in order to send Rome a message. So you put these guys together and you can kind of sense the tension, yeah? Like there's going to be open hostility. These aren't guys who are going to like sit next to each other at the campfire and sing Kumbaya. You know what I mean? This is intense, complex group of people. There's egos involved. They want to be the greatest. At one point, James and John, these brothers, go up to Jesus and they're like, hey, can we sit on your right and your left, like the two best positions? And then all the other disciples get really upset because they want the same thing, right? So there's jockeying for position and there's egos and everybody wants to be the greatest. In John's gospel, this is how pathetic it gets, guys. In John's gospel, there's this moment where he brags that he was able to run faster than Peter to the empty tomb. So think about this. What John remembers about the day Jesus rose from the dead, like that was fantastic. But remember, I also beat Peter in a foot race. Like, this is the disciples. They're an incredibly complex group of people. They all say yes to Jesus, but then they're thrown into this thing together. And they're not really people that you'd put together if they had their own choice. But it's to this group of disciples that Jesus says this. John 13, a new command I give you. Love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. So to this crazy group of people who have been thrown into it, Jesus says, hey, love one another. Love one another as I have loved you. In the same way that I've loved you, that's how you're supposed to love one another. And by the way, as you do this, this is how the world will know you belong to me, because you'll look and love the way that I do. So not surprisingly, our one another for today is love. We're to love one another. And we save this for last because you'll see in a moment, everything really hangs on this. And it's the capstone of everything we've been talking about. And we also thought, this is a perfect way to segue into Christmas, where we celebrate love taking on flesh, right? To reveal to us who God is. So here's our big idea for today, if you're taking notes. It's simply this. Everything hangs on our love for one another. Everything hangs on our love for one another. Our sense of community, our sense of connection and togetherness hangs on our love for one another. Our sense of mission, the way we move toward the world, will depend upon us loving in the way of Jesus. This is why love is the most emphasized teaching in the New Testament. Jesus summarizes the entire Old Testament, the law and the prophets, by saying, love God and love others. This is what it's all about. There's 59 one another's in the New Testament, 59 of them. 17 are the exact same, love one another. So 1/3 of the one another's love one another. And that doesn't include the ones where love is sort of tacked on, like be devoted to one another in love, serve one another in love. It's all over the place. We're to love one another. It's almost as if love is sort of the glue that holds everything together. It's the orienting center of everything we're supposed to be about as a community. It's the primary motivator and driver of everything we're supposed to be about. Colossians 3:14 says this, above all of these, put on love, which binds them together in perfect unity. Above all of these. Now, the question is, well, what are the these? Paul says above all of these. Well, what are these? And if you look in the context, they refer to some of the other one another's. Paul's just got done talking about how we're to be kind and compassionate, clothing ourselves with those things, and then he says we're to bear with each other and carry each other's burdens, and then we're to forgive one another. And then Paul says, and above all of those, other one another's, put on love, because it's what binds them together in perfect unity. And so, friends, all the things we have covered in the series are not possible without love being at the center. We can't accept one another in the way of Jesus. We can't practice hospitality. We can't be devoted to one another in love. We can't submit to each other or bear each other's burdens. We can't forgive each other or encourage each other without love being the primary driver, the motivation behind everything we're doing. It's the glue. It's the orienting center of all of our practices as a church community. In 1 Peter, it says this, above all, love each other deeply. Above all, love each other deeply. Notice the above all language. Love is to be put above everything else, above all. It's to be our top priority. Like if this is love, it's supposed to be up here, and everything else is supposed to be underneath it. Above all, we're to love deeply. Love is to be our top priority. And this is important because I talk to people, and they kind of do this head nod thing to love. Oh, yeah, of course, love. But what about holiness? Oh, of course, love. But what about truth? What about justice, right? And so they take these other values or these other virtues, and they sort of go, of course, love, but then they elevate them and kind of try to create tension between these two. But see, Peter says, above all, we're to love each other deeply. Love is to be in that top spot. Every other thing you can think of is supposed to be put under the umbrella of love. Because I'm telling you right now, truth isn't truth unless it's expressed in love. Holiness isn't holiness unless it's expressed in love. Justice isn't justice unless it's expressed in love. Grace isn't grace unless it's expressed in love. Love is what makes all these other things possible. It's what gives them integrity. So love is above all, and everything else comes underneath it. Above all, we're to love each other deeply. Friends, I honestly think we need to reclaim, we need to get back to this deep conviction that love is at the heart of everything we're supposed to be about. I feel like a lot of us have this Sunday school version of love, where we go, oh yeah, that's a great thing to be teaching in our kids' ministry. Oh, hey kids, what did you learn in Sunday school today? We're supposed to love each other. Great, that's what it's all about. But then we go and we live as if something more is needed in our lives. Of course, love, but we need something else to solve the problems I'm facing in life. How could love possibly be the solution to my marriage problem, or the person I'm struggling with at work, or all the problems we're facing in our world, like poverty and immigration, all these other things? Love couldn't possibly help with those. We need something else. And I'm telling you, we need to reclaim the all-sufficient power of love. Think about this for just a moment. It'll blow your mind. God is literally restoring and redeeming everything that's broken and wrong in this world through his self-sacrificial love revealed in Jesus Christ. There is no other power more powerful than love. It's what transforms and changes everything. And so we need to reclaim this deep conviction that love is the power that actually raised Jesus from the dead. And so certainly it can transform my marriage. Certainly it can solve the problems I'm facing at work. Certainly it's the solution to the things we're facing in the world. It's about love. Just to drive this home a little bit further, Galatians 5:6 says the only thing that counts is faith expressing itself through love. The only thing that counts is faith expressing itself through love. The word expressing there in Greek is the word energeo, and it's where we get our word energy from. So Paul's saying here is that the only thing that really counts is your faith being energized by love. It's the only thing that matters. Not how often you come to church, not how much you give, not how many Bible devotions you do each week, or how many ministries you serve in. You could speak in every tongue imaginable. You could have all knowledge. You could give away everything you have to the poor, but it's not driven and motivated by a love that looks like Jesus. It counts for nothing. The only thing that counts is faith energized by love. And then Paul says this in 1 Corinthians 16. This is our memory verse this week if you're doing the daily prayer guide. Do everything in love. Super easy memory verse this week, yeah? Do everything in love. That's not hard to memorize. But the key word there is everything. Everything. Not some things, not most things, everything. We're to do everything in love. Love is to be our default setting. No matter what's happening in our lives, love is to be the one constant. There's never a time, there's never a situation where you shouldn't be loving. Love is the constant, it's the default. Do everything in love. When someone mistreats you, your response needs to be filled in love. When someone hurts you, your response needs to be filled with love. No matter the situation, no matter the circumstance, the one constant is that your response is going to be full of a love that looks like Jesus. Yeah? Look, this is what it means to go deeper in your faith. About 7 or 8 years ago, we did this church-wide assessment, and everybody participated and gave their feedback, and one significant theme that rose to the top was people wanted to go deeper. I think I know what they meant now, but I was tasked with figuring out what they mean by that, okay? So I did 2 different focus groups where I invited people to come talk about what does it mean to go deeper as a church. And one of the things I discovered for the vast majority of people, when they said they wanted to go deeper, I discovered that they wanted to go deeper in insight. Deeper in insight. I had one person look at me and said, I want to learn more Greek and Hebrew words, which I thought was hilarious because, friend, I took 6 years of Greek and 4 years of Hebrew, and I literally double minored in Greek and biblical languages, and it's so overrated. I wanted to look at this lady and be like, look, I got a couple piles of flashcards at home. You can start memorizing. Have fun. But it won't matter for anything unless it results in a faith energized by love. You know what I mean? So here's the thing. It's good to go deeper in insight. But it can't stop there. See, I'm concerned we can sit back and we can listen to sermons and we can go passively receive insight. Ooh, wow, I've never heard that before. I need to write that down. Ooh, what a nugget. I didn't know. Right? And it's like, hey, look, it's great to go deeper into insight in the scriptures and the life of Jesus and what it means to follow. But in the end, none of those insights matter unless it's translated into a love that looks like Jesus Christ. That's the mark of a true disciple. It's not passively receiving insights. It's living in the way of Jesus. There were tons of crowds around Jesus listening to him preach about the kingdom of God and gathering insights and cool experiences and look at that miracle. But see, only a few said, I need to actually give my life to following this person. When we say we want to go deeper, we're not talking about just going deeper into insight. We're talking about going deeper into a love that looks like Jesus Christ. So I'll be honest with you. For the past 6 weeks, I've been praying that God would take this church deeper. And not just me, but our entire staff, our elders have been invited into this. Other people have gotten wind of this. We've been praying that God would... I went on a prayer walk with Margot this week. We walked around Fowler twice, and we were praying that God would take us deeper as a church. But when we say deeper, I want to tell you what I mean. First of all, deeper into love for Jesus. Like, I want our community to be marked by a white-hot passion to know Jesus and follow him more and more. I'm talking about deeper love for one another as a community. That we be connected by a love that's strong, that looks like Jesus. And I'm talking about a love that bubbles up and overflows into this community so that we can show the world, this broken world, who Jesus is in all of his glory. You following me this? Deeper love for Jesus, deeper love for one another, deeper love for this world. That's what it means to go deeper. There's a sense in which this is so basic. Love is so basic. It's like the starting point. It's Christianity 101, but it's also Christianity 201 and 301. Like if you were going to get a PhD in Christianity, it'd be figuring out what it looks like to love like Jesus. This is what it means to go deeper, to do everything in love, a love that looks like Jesus. So here's the question, is what does it look like to love like Jesus? What does it look like to love like Jesus? And I'll confess to you, this was a difficult message for me to prepare because I had so much to say. Like way more than I could say in a sermon. We take 6 weeks to talk about how Jesus loved in our discipleship groups because there's so much to say here. See, Jesus, there's no one size fits all. There's no template or formula. Jesus' love looked very different depending upon the situation. He loved the religious leaders and the Pharisees differently than you see him loving like the woman caught in adultery or the woman at the well. Same intensity of love, but expressed in a very different way. And so if you study the way Jesus loved, it was highly contextualized and often involved a unique calibration of grace and truth depending upon the person and the situation in front of him. So we can't cover all of that today, but it's just to say there's no there's no template or formula. It's going to look different depending upon the situation and the person in front of you. But here's what you need to know. If you want to know what love is, you need to look at the person of Jesus Christ. If you want to know what love is and what it looks like, you need to look at Jesus Christ. 1 John 3:16 says, this is how we know what love is. You want to know what love is? Here it is. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters. You'll have to figure out what this looks like in each scenario and with each person and each context you're in. But in the end, if you want to grow in a love that looks like Jesus, you need to fix your eyes on him. Yeah? So here's what I want to do, because I can't possibly talk about each context and situation. I just want to give you 3 defining characteristics of a love that looks like Jesus so you know you're on track, okay? 3 defining characteristics. This is what love will look like to some degree or another, no matter what situation you're in. The first one is this, that Jesus-like love is self-sacrificial. Jesus-like love is self-sacrificial. How do we know what love is? 1 John tells us, well, Jesus Christ laid down his life for us. God expresses love to us at great cost to himself. He leaves the perfection of heaven in order to come and bear our brokenness. The King of Kings and the Lord of Lords leaves the perfection of heaven in order to become a servant even unto death, and he sacrifices his life to redeem us and restore us to God. Ephesians 5 says this, therefore, be imitators of God as beloved children, and walk in what? Oh, come on. And walk in love, just as Christ also loved you and gave himself up for us, an offering and a what? Sacrifice to God as a fragrant aroma. Be imitators of God. The Greek word there is mimetai, and it literally means to mimic or to shadow. So we're to mimic God. We're to shadow what we see him doing. And this verse tells us how we're supposed to be doing that. As beloved children, walk in love just as Christ also loved you and gave himself up for us as an offering and a sacrifice. Jesus' like love is sacrificial. Jesus expresses his love for us by taking on flesh and going to the cross as a sacrifice on our behalf. And we're called to manifest the same kind of love. Love is about ascribing worth to other people at cost to yourself. Let's say that again. Love is about ascribing worth to other people at cost to yourself. That's what love looks like. It's sacrificial. So let's just have this moment. It's obvious, but let's just talk about it for a moment. This means that love is not going to be convenient. Yeah? It's not going to be convenient. It's going to be costly. It's not about selfishness. It's about self-sacrifice. It's the exact opposite of the primary message we keep hearing in our culture. So for the last couple of years, I keep hearing this again and again, and it's driving me bonkers. I keep hearing, do whatever makes you happy. How many of you have heard this? Okay, so I'm in a lot of contexts where I keep hearing this, where people are like encountering a difficult situation, they don't know what to do, and the primary advice they're given is, well, you just need to do whatever makes you happy. And I'm sitting here going, no, we need to deconstruct this advice, this life-guiding principle for a moment, because from my vantage point, it basically gives people permission to be incredibly selfish. I'm putting my pursuit of personal happiness over and above everything else as a life-guiding principle, and allows me to bulldoze over the wants and needs of other people in pursuit of something for me. And I'll just tell you, in a number of different contexts over the last couple of years, I've seen people blow things up. Hurting an incredible amount of people, hurting themselves and people around them in pursuit of their personal happiness. Part of the problem, you guys, is we really don't know what will make us happy. We think we do, but the reality is we buy into this momentary instant gratification thing. We think this thing will make us happy, but in the long run, it makes us miserable. We don't know what will make us happy. We often, in pursuit of happiness, do this thing. We get a moment of pleasure, and then it destroys the things that are most significant. You following this? It's like McDonald's, friends. Like you go to McDonald's and it tastes good for a moment, but in the long, they literally have a happy meal, and it will not make you happy. I gave my kid a Happy Meal on a road trip, and he threw up in the back seat, okay? This is what's happening in our culture. People are like, ooh, I'm going to pursue my own happiness. Instant pleasure. Ooh, this burger tastes so good, and then they barf. Let's deconstruct this for a moment, because it's literally the exact opposite life-guiding principle that the scriptures give to us. It's not about you pursuing your personal happiness. It's about you ascribing value and worth to other people at cost to yourself. It's not convenient, it's costly. It's not selfish, it's sacrificial. You guys getting this? All right. Just making sure. I still have some energy. Can I keep going? All right. Number 2, so Jesus-like love is sacrificial. Number 2, Jesus-like love is boundary breaking. I love this one, boundary breaking. Okay, look, Jesus regularly got in trouble with the religious leaders and teachers because they had all these little customs and rules, and Jesus was constantly stepping over them and making them upset. They had rules about who you could hang out with and who you could be in touch with, but Jesus went to the very margins of society, to the outer edge, to the fringe, and he welcomed all people to himself. He hung out with the wrong people, sinners, tax collectors, prostitutes, all these people who had, moral baggage, so to speak. He moved towards people who were sick and blind and lame and deaf. These are the people that Jesus hung out with. Jesus' love was boundary breaking. There was no barrier he wasn't willing to jump over to pursue people with radical love. He crosses over the barrier dividing heaven and earth by taking on flesh, and it just snowballs from there. He broke gender barriers. He actually discipled and empowered women to be part of God's kingdom. He broke racial barriers, moving towards Gentiles and Samaritans. There was no boundary or barrier Jesus wasn't going to break through in order to express the radical love of God. And see, we're called to follow and mimic and shadow that same kind of activity as a community. Our love is to be boundary breaking. Just as Jesus went to the people on the outer edge of society, we need to go to those same people. Just as Jesus hung out with people who had questionable morals, we need to be moving towards those people and embracing them. Just as Jesus hung out with people who are sick and lame, we need to be moving towards the sick and the lame to show and shower God's love on them. We need to break through all the barriers that get in the way of people receiving the self-sacrificial love revealed in Jesus Christ. So it's not going to be convenient, and I'll tell you, it's not going to be comfortable either. This will stretch you. It will stretch you. To embody boundary-breaking love is going to be incredibly uncomfortable. But it's exactly the kind of love that Jesus calls us to. When people ask me, what are you excited about at Crosspoint? There's tons of stuff. God is just creating some really cool momentum in different areas throughout our church. But one of the things I talk about is our kingdom communities, because their primary purpose is to embody this boundary-breaking love. We've got a group that goes into prisons and loves on those who are incarcerated. That's boundary-breaking love in action, yeah? We've got a group that goes to hang out with the homeless in Milwaukee and Madison. That's boundary-breaking love in action. We have a mentoring program for kids who don't have the proper parental support in their homes. That's boundary-breaking love in action. Did you know our high school students go to Azura Memory Care every 3 weeks to care for these people who have dementia and their family members who are visiting? That's boundary-breaking love in action. That's what it's all about. So excited about that. It's sacrificial, it's boundary breaking, and then lastly, and most challenging, Jesus-like love is enemy embracing. Now we're talking. But hey, we've got to start with just understanding who God is and how he relates to us. Here's Romans 5. But God demonstrates his own love for us in this. While we were still what? Sinners, Christ died for us. And then in verse 10, fast forwarding, while we were God's enemies, we were reconciled to him through the death of his son. So this really brings us to the heart of the gospel. You got to understand this. Your condition, you were in bondage to sin, and yet when you were in that place, God chose to send Jesus out of love. You were considered an enemy of God, but at that precise moment, God looks on you with his favor and decides to send himself to redeem you, to restore you at great cost to himself. This is the heart of the gospel. And so Jesus reveals a God who literally prays forgiveness. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do, to the very people that are nailing him to the cross. Think about that. That's enemy embracing love for the purpose of redemption and reconciliation. And now we're called to be ministers of reconciliation. We're called to the same kind of enemy embracing love. This is what Jesus says in Luke 6. Love your what? It doesn't get any clearer than that. I don't know how you can do any exegetical gymnastics to discredit it. Love your enemies. Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. Fast forwarding a little bit. If you do good to those who are good to you, what credit is that to you? Even sinners do that. And if you lend to those from whom you expect repayment, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners expecting to be repaid in full. But love your enemies. Do good to them and lend to them without expecting to get anything back. Then your reward will be great. Jesus embodied an enemy-embracing type love, and we're called to follow in the footsteps of Jesus, which means that's what our love needs to look like as well. How easy is it to be nice to those who are nice to you, to love those who love you? But as followers of Jesus, we're called to something way more difficult, way deeper, and it's just to love people no matter who they are. This is tough work. But as you move toward it, as you move toward loving that person who's difficult in your life, you'll experience a deep amount of change and transformation. Let me give you an exercise to try this week if you want to test this out. Pick someone or identify someone in your life that you struggle with, okay? You got that person? Everybody got someone that they struggle with? This shouldn't be hard. Get your hand in the air. Do you got someone you struggle with? All right. You might be sitting next to him. Okay. You pick that person you're struggling with, right? And here's the framework I want you to approach this with. In the end, you got to hear this. This is so important. In the end, if they have flesh and blood, you don't have an enemy. Paul tells us that our enemy is not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. Spiritual forces. So if they have a heartbeat, if they're a human being, they're actually not your enemy. They're someone created in God's image, someone fearfully and wonderfully made, someone that Jesus died for. Okay, so your first move is just to kind of shift your framework and go, they're not my enemy. They're someone created in God's image. They're part of God's family, okay? Then I want you simply to pray for them every day this week. And I'm not talking about that corrective prayer stuff. God, convict them of their dysfunction. Help, No. This isn't praying change in their life. This is praying for God's grace and activity to flood every part of who they are. For God's blessing and abundance to be on them. Start praying good things over them. And just watch, I guarantee it, just watch. Gradually your heart will begin to be transformed as it pertains to that person. It's really hard to pray blessing, sincere blessing over someone and hate them at the same time. Yeah? A new command I give to you. Love one another, right? As I have loved you, that's how you're supposed to love one another. And by the way, this is how people will know you belong to me, because you're going to look and love like me. Jesus-like love is not selfish, it's sacrificial. It's not convenient, it's costly. It's boundary breaking and enemy embracing. And this is the kind of love that we're called to as a church community. Amen? Amen. Here's your homework for this week. So get in a group if you're not in one. And then secondly, where is God inviting you to love like Jesus? You got to find that answer for yourself. Identify a person or maybe a situation where you can embody this self-sacrificial, boundary-breaking, enemy-embracing love. And then I want you to bring back a story next week. So when we hold up this blue box, you've got a story to share about what love looked like for you over the past week. Bring back a story. Yeah? Okay. I've got 3 ridiculously important announcements for you before you leave today. They're all good. You know what I mean, right? They're all good. The first one is our Advent Guide is live, okay? So we have 25 devotionals for you starting today, one each day leading you up to Christmas Day. And we put this together as a staff and elder team. Okay, we wrote these devotions together, so it's a product of our community, and it's designed to help you enter and grow through this Christmas season. Each devotional is up on our website every day, but you also can subscribe to it and will be delivered into your mailbox, okay, your inbox. We had a slight glitch this morning, but we figured it out, technology. Okay, so sign up for our Advent Guide. Secondly, this coming Saturday is our day of prayer, okay? Starting at 8 a.m., we're going to pray for 24 straight hours to the following day, Sunday at 8 a.m., and then go right into our worship services. It's going to be awesome. But we still have slots that we need filled up. So you can sign up today before you leave, grab a friend, sign up as a home group, and grab an hour. Our goal is to have someone in our chapel on site for the entire 24 hours. However, we also know that some of you may not be able to leave your kids or whatever the circumstance might be. And so there's a spot for you to sign up online where you can say, I'm going to do this off-site, in which case we'll send you the prayer guide for the hour, okay? So you can still wake up in the middle of the night or whatever, and we're going to send you the guide. And we will provide you a guide. So I talked to this guy last week. He's like, I really want to do this, but I'm not good at praying. No problemo. You're not going to show up at the chapel and then just pray on your own for an hour. We put together a thing that will guide you for the entire hour. Yeah? Okay, so sign up before you leave. It'd be great to do this for all 24 hours. And then final announcement regards our Christmas Eve service times. All the data suggests that people want to come to church earlier in the day so they can be with family later on, which is why we put together our church services at 11 and 2. We were curious about how many people have to work that day, and we did get a lot of feedback. I'm not going to be able to make either of those times. And so what do I do? So we've added a service, okay? All right. 11, 2, and 5. But here's the deal. I'm looking at each one of you. Here's the deal. We have a sanctuary of 700 seats. We could fit everybody in 2 services, right? But we're providing options so that nobody doesn't have a place to go. But I want to fill this place up. So that means you have to be praying about who am I going to invite? Family members, friends, coworkers, and neighbors, be praying about who to invite this Christmas because we want to celebrate Jesus coming to save us. Amen? Amen. All right. That's all I have so let's stand for closing prayer. And I am going to give you a benediction from Ephesians chapter 3. I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power together with all the Lord's people to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Christ, and to know this love that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled to the measure of all the fullness of God. Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us. To him be the glory in the church and in Christ Jesus throughout all generations, forever and ever. And all God's people said, Amen. Go in love and live on mission.